I have literally never had this happen before. I went to start filming and then there are lawn people outside doing the lawn. So I guess I'm a real YouTuber now. What, 4 years, 5 years into it? Cool. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, What the Beck. Today I'm going to show you how I turned $10 of yarn into approximately 100 items and over $500 worth of stock. Anyways, so there's a local yarn and craft supply store near me in Baltimore. It's called Scrap Be More. It is one of my favorite places on the planet, and they have a section where you can get small balls of yarn, fill up a bag of like a grocery size bag of yarn for $10. So I decided, hey, let's do that, because I don't have enough yarn, clearly, and things have been slow at work, so I have time on my hands. I have a market coming up and I'm keeping an eye out to sign up for more markets, so I'm just gonna go over what I made. So as I said, I had one grocery bag worth of yarn. This is like the same size grocery bag that I put the yarn in, and I honestly didn't fill it all the way because the rest of the yarn that was there didn't appeal to me or didn't inspire me. But yeah, the main thing I made was these little mushrooms, and these are super easy. I think I'm gonna do a tutorial on these because you can literally keep making the cap until you run out of your scrap yarn and then just freehand the bottom for it. And these I'm gonna sell for $5 each. These are like maybe half an hour of work at most, and I'm okay underselling myself on that labor because the material was basically pennies. And yeah, so they're little mushrooms. People can stim with them like this, which I'm going to make a TikTok about, and hopefully they'll get some traction that way. And you can kind of like spruce it up by changing up how you do it. So for example, this one I used 2 strands of yarn, and then for the final round I just did one color and did like an increase and then one and then an increase and then one to compensate for the fact that the yarn was now not as thick. You could also do like this one has just color work where every other stitch on every other round is a different color. These are really fun spirals. I don't remember exactly the pattern I did for these, but I made a blanket a while ago that had this in the center, and I really liked how it looked, so I did that. And then you can see I experimented with doing one color is single crochet and one color is half double crochet on here. Those are really cool. This one is kind of funky, so I made this towards the end when I had used up all of this like tan yarn, so I did black at the bottom because it looks kind of alien and, you know, someone's gonna like it. But yeah, using the fluffy yarn as the top of the fungus. Using yarn with flex in it for the top of the mushroom. This yarn was really fun. It was a really thin yarn, but it did like all this cool color changing, so I just paired it up with a solid color yarn. In this case I used black, and that looked really cool. And then as you can see, there's all these different sections in that yarn, so it made several different styles of mushroom. And yeah, so these mushrooms, I have them on here for, some of them were $5 each, some of the larger ones are $10 each. I made 50 mushrooms out of all these scraps. And yeah, these are really great for at shows because kids come up and they want something, but of course for my more time intensive work I price it appropriately, so things can easily get up to like $50-$60. But this is something that if they like my stuff, they want to get something, it's $5. It's a stim toy too, which the other best seller I have is like just a little stress ball. I have a tutorial for that up here. If YouTube still lets me edit that like that, that'll be great, but I don't know if it still is, but it'll be in the description anyway. And yeah, this is another one where I just held 2 yarns together And in this case, I ran out of the one dark green, so I just picked up the next one. And since it's made of scraps, you can be really lenient with yourself, and just, you know, do whatever works. This is kind of small, so like I might give it away as like a freebie if someone buys something big. But like, this was my favorite one. It was neon orange and this like magenta pink, like bubblegum color. That was my favorite one. And I also made big mushrooms, of course. So these in particular were in the scrap bin at the store in lengths. So they were like 1.5 feet long, and I guess they were intended for like pom-pom making or something. I literally just crocheted, tied another one on, crocheted, tied another one on. Well, eventually that got to be a pain in the butt, so I started just tying them all together and then winding them into balls on their own. So each color in their own ball. And then, yeah, so what was this? Maybe 25 lengths of yarn ended up being this mushroom, which I can then sell for like $15. Deal. I also made this really big mushroom because I had a lot of that brown. And then one of the techniques I used too is that this yarn with the sparkle was actually, let me see if I could separate it. You can kind of see, but this has 3 strands in it. This was the thinnest yarn I've ever used that wasn't like legally categorized as embroidery floss or like crochet thread. So like this is crochet thread. That's about how thin one strand of it was. So yeah, I just did the trick where you basically make a big like long stretched out chain of the yarn while you're working. Well, I did it, and so that yarn that I would have never used otherwise, I could use it to make this. Granted, I used 3 times the length of it, but like whatever. So yeah, here's a $25 mushroom. Bam. This one is really cool yarn. It's really textured, and it reminded me of fungus anyway, so made it a mushroom. And then that also has a little baby one too. So there's those. So now we're gonna get into like the fun stuff. And the mushrooms, they're good and they're great for scrap busting, but I wanted to challenge myself and make other things too. So I kind of revisited some of the old things I would make. When I was at the store and I saw these fuzzy yarns, I immediately was like, I need that, because this one in particular is so soft. And I also noticed there's always an overabundance of eyelash yarn at scrap. So if I make something that can utilize that technique, then I can clear scrap out of eyelash yarn and profit, which is good for me because I need to eat food and go to furry conventions, which is the 2 main things I spend money on. But yeah, so these are just some little sheeps. They're entirely free-handed. Since the yarn is fluffy, the stitches are inside out because it just tends to poke out better out of the backside. And then these are also, like both of these yarns that I used, double-stranded. I just went, I made the outer part and then I went even rows up until I thought I was going to run out, and then I decreased it, and then I made the little heads out of black yarn. And I made these towards the end of the experiment, I guess, but I still really like them, and I might end up keeping one of these because he's so soft and cute. This guy I made pretty early on. I ended up using up like all of the purple and blue, and that's why I ended up with like a bunch of red and stuff towards the end. Granted, I started with a lot of red, but yeah, here's this guy. It's like a galaxy theme jellyfish, and he is valued at $30. So he again used some of those really thin yarns. I held 2 together and made him. Up here, some of the yarns were so thin that I used 3 strands at once, if you can see that. And then just, again, a scrap of the black yarn and tying them all together. And I am actually pretty upset that this tentacle ended up on the very front I didn't think to line it up different, but this one is just like, I had run out of the purple, so I grabbed the closest I had, which was like this dull pink. I wish it wasn't the front tentacle, but I'm sure whoever buys it sees that and knows that that's what it is, and I won't ever see it again once it sells, so I'm gonna have to live with it. He's so squishy. So yeah, there's him. This pattern is free and it is available on my Ravelry. I will link that in the description as well. So also, when I was working with the eyelash yarn, I tried to think what type of thing isn't normally furry but could look cute if it was. This is mostly inspired by KP Creations, who I watched nonstop while making all of these over the past like 5 days. She makes like furry snakes and furry frogs and things, and I was like, furry turtle. And these colors kind of lended themselves to the like aquatic or like reptilian color palette, I guess. And then I just made a little brown turtle. Again, this yarn was really thin. It actually helped me because since I was using a big hook or like fast patterns for the other things, it helped me to slow down to use this slower yarn towards the end of the project. He's so fluffy and cute. I love him. He is valued at $20. So then I have this pumpkin that you saw in the beginning. Not too much to say about that. I'll probably sell it for $5, or like as a freebie with something. But yeah, I valued it at $5 in my little total at the end. Now this snake I made very last, except for one mushroom. So I basically was using the red and black until they ran out, and then once the red ran out, I took what was left of the black and made one final mushroom. And then in the end, I ended up stuffing all of the scraps of yarn that were left. I cut them up and stuffed them into that mushroom and a few of the crabs, which I made, which I'll show you in a little bit. But yeah, so here's just a little snake. He is valued at, how much did I say? $10, because he's really short. He's cute. He only has stuffing in his head, so like he's very, like, he could be a stem toy too. But yeah, there's that guy again, using double-stranded black and red, the two colors that I ended up with last. There's him. This guy, he's my favorite. Oh my god, his hair is messed up. Come on. He reminds me of Brendan Urie so much, and I don't know why. Congrats to him, by the way. But yeah, I was at work. I wanted to make a bear because I had a ton of red yarn. I took a bunch of red because I thought I'll make a bunch of mushrooms with the red, because that makes sense, red mushrooms, right? I made so many mushrooms that I was sick of it. Like I said, I made 50 mushrooms, not including the big ones. So I was like, I'm gonna use a red to make something else. And I had a phase recently where I made a bunch of bears. I still have the bear pattern memorized, so I made another bear out of red, and then I gave him a little bit of personality. I made him Angie. I gave him a little jacket. The jacket is removable. It has a little collar, which I'm proud of, but you can barely see. And his mohawk took me a good like hour and a half to put together, and that is why instead of being $35, he is $50. But I love him so much. And he has his little eyebrow piercing and earring, which I literally just took these off my work bag. I had them on there like in case you, like, there's like things you bring around in case you need them, but I think he needed them more than I did. So yeah, there's that guy. Little accidentally Brendan Urie bear. I think it's got to be the hair that's doing that for me. The hair is also a really fun texture to touch. It's very like soft and cool to the touch. So yeah, there's that guy. I love him so much. And finally, I couldn't have made all these things in Maryland and have so much red yarn without making some crabs. So yeah, I started out, I made this pattern. I'm hoping to release it soon. Just a little crab. He's got his claws, little eyeballs. He uses barely any stuffing at all, and these I think are actually stuffed with mostly yarn scraps. Like I can tell this guy's a little denser. He's stuffed with yarn. He's a little bit more toasty than this guy. And I made some with 2 strands as well that I could sell for $10 because they're bigger. Yeah, we just got 5 little crabbies. Some of them I did slip stitches instead of single crochets because I was really worried I was going to run out of that particular color of yarn, but I didn't. I didn't really run out of yarn while making any of the like non-mushroom things. But yeah, crab stack. Boop. So yeah, just to break down all of the stuff. So I made a $50 bear, a $30 jellyfish, $10 snake, $20 turtle, 3 $5 sheeps, 3 large crabs, 10 small crabs. Oh wait, no, it's 2 small crabs that are $5 each. $30 for the large brown mushroom, $5 for the pumpkin, $20 for the gay shroom, and $15 for the large black shroom. Then we had 13 medium shrooms for $10 each. That's $130. 37 small shrooms for $185 each. And that came out to, I don't know if I believe this, $551. I'm gonna pretend it's $550 because I don't see a 1 in there, do you? And then so subtracting the $10 I spent on materials, not including stuffing and eyes because I literally already owned those and I got them for dirt cheap some other time. That is a total of $540 of profit. So if you have a local craft reuse store near you, I highly recommend going there, seeing what you can get, even if they don't have as crazy of a sale as a whole grocery bag of yarn for $10. Making a bunch of small items from a $5 or 2 $5 skeins of yarn is much more profitable than making the big stuff in my experience, especially if you're vending in person. And it can help you, you know, stay afloat while you work on those bigger, crazy projects like the giant millipede that I'm working on now. I just wanted to pop in and share a few of the tricks that I used so that if you want to do this, you can. I caked all the yarn before using it so it was super manageable. I put similar colors into the same cake so once I ran out, I would like have the next color ready to use. I stuffed the unusable bits into the stuffies and I would hide the ends like I'm showing in this video here. That way I had no yarn left after the challenge was over, which I'm actually pretty proud that I managed to pull that off. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do a similar challenge to this, like, I don't know, a $10 challenge, see how much you can make out of $10 of yarn, feel free to tag me in it. And if you want to make this crab, keep an eye out on my Ravelry. The pattern should be coming soon. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.